Okay, everybody, welcome to our monthly skills training with the CoLab. This month, we are focusing on what the CoLab is doing to create a documentary. And so we're going to go ahead and start. We have our documentary team here, and I'm going to introduce them in a minute. But first, I'm going to introduce you. The CoLab has created a documentary already. And I'm going to just share that with you very briefly. We have on our website, Global CoLab Network, this documentary, and I'm going to just make sure I can share my screen. Okay. Can you all see this?
Yes, I can.
Thank you, Akash. Okay, so A Piece of Science, a documentary on diplomacy with North Korea. The CoLab created this for older youth, really youth that are more in their 20s and 30s that are going into global diplomacy. We created this during COVID time, and there's a trailer here, and we have a resource page here. And then you can download the documentary and watch it. So I really encourage all of you to go to the CoLab website and watch our documentary. This is a resource page about how to learn about this topic. The purpose of this documentary is really for it to be used in universities. So the CoLab is promoting this documentary at US and global universities on science diplomacy, how we can use science as a bridge for building relations between countries that don't normally get along. And you can actually download the documentary here and it'll come into your inbox and you can watch it. So we are actually creating a documentary that I'm going to now introduce our team. But first, I'm going to just, I'm going to share with you a fact sheet about the documentary. And I'm sorry I didn't have it up, but we have a documentary fact sheet. There it is, right here. Okay. So our fact sheet is right here. This is a documentary that the CoLab is creating that will be made by all of you. All of you from our hubs will be making a documentary on the UN Sustainable Development Goals and what you are doing to engage youth globally. And the audience are teenagers from all over the world and global stakeholders interested in engaging teen change makers. So we're hoping to show the documentary in classrooms, which means that it will be 20 to 30 minutes long. It will be made virtually in the next couple of months with all of you. And then we are sending a film crew to New York City that will be filming it in New York City at the UN. So the timing, we hope to have the documentary finished by end of August to show at the United Nations UN Summit on the SDGs. And now I'm going to turn to some of our team members and introduce our team. I'm going to first start with James, who we have brought on, who's a filmmaker and video a film expert who's going to introduce himself. And then James, I would like you to introduce our team, if that's okay. I don't think Xander could join us today, but I know that Haley and Carolina are here and Tanishka's also here. So I'm going to turn it over to you, James, to introduce the team. And then I'm going to ask Haley and then Carolina and Tanishka to share some visions of what they are thinking. And then at the end, James is going to share a little bit about how you make a documentary. Does that make sense? Okay. So James, can you take it from here?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Linda. My name's James. I'm originally from Scotland, spent the last 20 years in London, and I immigrated to America last year. I'm currently living in Seattle. I'm an actor, therapist, and filmmaker in my final phase at film school. Haley, Carolina, who would like to go next?
Haley, do you want to give an overview of what we've been thinking, and then Carolina will fill in, and then Tanishka will fill in? Is that okay?
Yeah, of course. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Haley Zhang. I am the co-ambassador for the Plastics Hub, and I'm from Missouri. And we've been working on the documentary, and right now we're thinking of a 3-act structure for our documentary. So the first part will really just give information about the SDGs and talk about the problems in our world, kind of like overwhelm the audience. The second part, we're going to try and get the hubs involved, and it's going to be like how these people can make how the teens can make change, but we will do that through the viewer being kind of going on an adventure. So they're going to be seeing a Zoom meeting and kind of going through the Zoom meeting. It's going to be kind of interactive, experimental. They're going to be going through these Zoom meetings and like going in the gardens or going to pick up plastic around the world, and they're going to experience all these things. And then the last part of our documentary, we're hoping to do a part wherever we show the change that teens around the world have been making, bring back that hope after we overwhelm them and make them hopeless. Now we're going to bring back that hope, and we're going to show them how they can change and really how they can help, because I feel like a lot of teens feel like they're only one person, but this documentary, we're trying to show passion and show that one person can make a difference. Caroline, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think you did a good summary, but basically we want to show teens all over the world that they really need to start taking action, and they all have ideas about the SDGs or how they can help the world, but they need to take action, and they have a platform and a way to take action. And so that would be through the CoLab or through other teen organizations, but there is a way for them to start making change for the world, and we really want to inspire and empower them to do that through this documentary. So we want them to walk away thinking like, wow, I can really do something to help change the world, and make them want to join the hubs through this.
Great. That's fantastic. And Tanishka, do you want to add anything? I don't know. Tanishka, are you here? If you're here speaking, I can't hear you. Okay. This is going to be really fun, and we're excited to work with all of you. And I'm going to turn it over to James to explain a little bit about how you make a documentary. Very short, just simple. How do you make a documentary? In case you guys are wondering, what's the stages and what stage are we now? And then we're going to open it up to Q&A from all of you. And our team is going to meet this week. And then in the next week or two, they're going to actually come to your hub meetings or send you something with some ideas for how we're going to start to engage all of you. Does that make sense? So I'm going to ask, yes, I'm going to give you permission to share your slides. So let me find you. There's James. Okay. So, oops, sorry, James, just a second. Make co-host. Okay. So James, you ought to be able to share your slides right now. Can we hear you? We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. That's great. So yeah, I just wanted to give everyone just an overview of, big picture, what a documentary is, why it's important, and how you go about, framing one. So I think we can all agree that documentaries are important. They shine a light on many subjects that are important and don't always get the exposure that they require and they deserve. So this slide here is more about from an industry perspective, with a slight bias from the UK. So Yeah, currently 1 in 5 films made in the UK is actually a documentary. One of the great things about documentaries is, although they're 20% of the films made, they only take up 1.9% of the actual budget. So documentaries can be a very accessible tool for anyone, especially with the way technology is today. Another important factor is documentaries are usually independent from the big United States film studios. So there's a chance for the filmmakers and the people involved to really have a voice, which is without bias from some kind of commercial entity. And documentaries are on the rise. So 20 years ago, I think the number of documentaries made in the UK were 4 per year. That number has just expanded massively. So let's see if I can work out how to do this. Here we go. How to define a documentary. So a documentary film is a non-fictional emotional picture intended to document reality. Of course, perception has a big part to play in reality, primarily for the purpose of instruction, education, or maintaining a historical record. But with modern trends, this definition is starting to change, thinking about the rise of things such as reality television, etc. So here's just a few different genres of documentary. So expository is in the style of the American documentary maker Ken Burns, if anybody's familiar with his work. So it's facts. Usually there's a narration, a kind of voice of God, as they call it, behind the documentary. We can also have poetic documentaries, which are much more artistic. So it's music, it's images spliced together to create a feeling in the viewer rather than try to push them to a particular point of view. Essayistic would be more poetic, but the filmmaker does have a take on it. They are trying to steer the viewer to a certain end goal. Observational documentaries are much more fly on the wall. Maybe some reality TV falls into that category. Also documentaries where you come back to a subject year after year to see changes. Percipitory is much more in the Michael Moore category of documentary making. So the documentary maker is actually in the documentary themselves, taking you on a journey as they learn and as the audience learns at the same time. Dramatization is something we do very well in the UK. So that would be much more a historical drama. So there'd be actors playing real figures from the past. And mixed, which really is the way most documentaries are now, using a methodology and a style that really serves what the filmmaker is trying to achieve from the documentary. So a mixed bag, if you like, a toolkit. I'm not sure if any of you have seen the documentary on Senna, the Formula One driver, but that documentary is very much a mix of different tools. So what's the kind of ingredients for documentary? Subject, topic, genre, theme. So you can see there yourself, the subject is the thing the film is about. The topic is the broader issue that the film explores. Genre is the style and the tone used to tell the story. And theme, what is it you want the audience to take away as a result of experiencing this documentary? So to give you some examples of that, we could say the subject of the documentary would be on climate change, on the Arctic region. The topic, the issue would be environmental science and policy. The genre, well, we could choose any, but let's say participatory. So it's a nature and science documentary. And then the theme might be the urgent need for global action to protect the world's most vulnerable ecosystems. And we can fit our own documentary into this framework too. So subject might be Global Collab Teenagers. The topic would be UN Sustainability Goals. The genre would be mixed, and the theme would be Take Action Now. So how do you provide structure into the narrative and find your story? Well, like any story, it's important to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Haley explained how we're currently working on that in terms of our documentary team. But it's important to also know that you don't have to put things in that order. So you can play with the narrative structure. It's important to find these three things and know exactly what they are before you start actually deconstructing them. But perhaps you start with the end and end with the beginning, or perhaps the documentary has many sections and you have many beginning, middles, and ends in each section. It's important to find the interest. So what's the thing about this that makes it interesting to watch? It can't just be interesting to us. It's got to be interesting to the viewer. It might be the thing that you think is going to be the interest point from the beginning, or perhaps it's not. Perhaps you find it in the edit when you're editing the documentary and you realize this documentary is actually about something else, and that's what's interesting about it. So never be afraid to change your focus. You have to follow the story. So when a story becomes apparent to you, then you've got to look for it. So some of the best documentaries that I respect, they become something else. They start to follow their plan, and then something triggers, and then they follow a new story. So again, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but the documentary Icarus, which is about drug cheats in racing, and it became something much, much deeper. Government sponsored policies to actually cheat in competitive sports. It's also very important to be able to make difficult decisions in anything you do in life, but there will be times in documentary and in filmmaking when you have to cut stuff. So you've got to always come back to, what are we trying to achieve from this? And what's our ethics? In one documentary, the key might be to stay true to the actual subject, the participants. Always focus on what they're saying and make sure it comes across. But in another project, it might be important to have a hero and a villain. And so we may have to lose certain material to draw out that experience. And finally, in this section, I would say it's very important to actually watch narrative films for story structure. So audiences engage with these formats. So you can choose to go with that structure when making a documentary, or perhaps you completely ignore it, but you always do it from a position of choice.
Hey, James, we just got about 2 minutes, okay?
Sure. So this is the end here. So just very quickly, these are the stages that you go through. Development is, what is the idea? That's your initial research, what we're going to focus on. Pre-production, that's the stage that we're in now as a team. So looking at planning, preparation, structure. Production is what we're going to invite everybody to engage with in the hubs. So we're going to ask you to go and produce content and help build this narrative and story. Post-production is when editing and refining comes into place. Distribution is, well, where is our audience? How are we going to get this to our audience? So Linda's allured to initial audiences being in school. And then finally, promotion and outreach. So how do we market this? And this is just something, we don't have time to discuss it today, but just something to think about when we meet in the future. What documentaries do you connect to yourselves? And what was it? What was the element that made you connect to that particular documentary? I think that's key to understand. And if you can find some of that magic and help put that into the documentary that we're making as a collective, we'll have a very, very powerful story at the end of the day. So thank you so much for your time. I hope that was helpful.
Sorry, I was trying to find my unmute. That was very good, James. Thank you so much. Wonderful. So I want to just ask, I'm going to just close it out. We've got about 6 minutes. I'd like you all to please ask questions. We've got 6 minutes. And then we're going to basically close down our skills training. We have this recorded, so we are going to put this up on our website so you can watch it later, share with others. But essentially our team, which you've met, has been meeting every single week. And we met with a group of advisors last Sunday. These are teens that used to be leading our hubs, who are now in college, who are creatives, including Jo, our rap video maker from London, Pablo, who's our current mentor of our Spanish hub with Brianda, and Theo, who did the music in our documentary on North Korea. And he is a film score in LA. And he created the collab as a teenager about 10 years ago. And then also Sophia, who's a dancer, a musician, a storyteller from Maryland, who's been going to school in China. And Sophia was part of our group as well. So we are meeting with some advisors, some older 22-year-old, 24-year-old teens that used to be with the collab, and they're advising us. Are there questions? Like throw out your questions. Anyone? Are you excited? Tell us if you're, please. Okay, I see Akash is excited. Haley's excited. Yay, yay, yay. And excitement is really important. Emma, are you excited? Okay. Sky? Okay, Carolina. I can only see so many of you. Efikon, Baron. Okay, Ella, Tujay, Brianda, Star. Sean says he's excited. Okay, good. Sky has a question. Okay, Sky, you have to unmute.
So, let's say I have my own like camera, my own DSLR. So let's say, and you want us to like shoot about our hubs for each section of our hubs, because like I have a tripod, so I guess I could probably like do a fancy little video if you like. Are we sending that to you, James?
Okay, so first of all,
Okay.
our team is led by teens. It's Haley and Carolina.
Okay.
And
Haley,
everything
got
we're
it.
doing is trying to be led by teens, but James and Xander are James is really our expert we're bringing in. So he can answer the questions, but basically Sky, I'll let Haley and Carolina start.
Yeah, so we definitely want your input on like what you are doing in your hubs. I think that's something we really want to stay true to what your hub is doing, but to make sure everything is cohesive and flows very well, we're going to be sending out the storyboard for what we think the documentary will be like. And we're going to send you your section of the storyboard, and you kind of work with us to get those shots, because obviously I can't travel to the gardens. But yeah, so we're definitely going to have that more laid out for you, and we're going to meet with everyone separately to make sure this all flows together really well. But yeah, I love how you have a DSLR, like that will be really great for the quality.
And I'll add that Sky's coming to New York, and Haley, you'll be in New York as well. And so Sky, we'll talk to you separately, but if you have camera stuff, you should bring it. The documentary and the hub input, honestly, you guys, you're only going to have like 2 minutes, maybe documentary at most, maybe it's going to be small. So I just have to set realistic expectations. If we have a 20-minute documentary and we're trying to get 10 hubs in there, that's going to be challenging. But a minute, 2 minutes is a lot on film. Second of all, we will be filming in New York. So at the end of the documentary, there will be this like you teens can engage the UN directly. So it'll be coming together, sort of the New York part may be at the end, we're not sure. If any of you are film editors that want to help on editing, please get in touch with me ASAP. Okay, another question. Brianda, did you have a question? No? No? Yes?
No, I just wanted to say that's amazing, everything that you're doing.
Yeah, well, it's going to be you. It's everything you guys are going to be doing. It is amazing. And we have a fantastic team. Other questions? Comments? Oh my gosh. James, do you have any follow-up last minute comments?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on what Haley said. So Haley smashed it there, absolutely. We're currently in the pre-production phase, so we're designing a blueprint. We're going to meet on Monday and hopefully finalize that blueprint. And then we'll engage with all the hubs separately and individually to provide that blueprint and allow you the creativity within that blueprint to engage with what you're passionate about. We're also playing with the idea of maybe having each video slightly different. So one could be animation, one could be musical, one could be stop motion, one could be Spanish language or Turkish language. So think about that. How might you want to engage with your particular audience in that section? Really excited to meet and work with you all.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. Carolina, do you have any last minute comments? And then we're going to close this out.
No, I don't. I'm just so excited for us to put this project together, and I hope everyone else is excited to get to display what the hubs can do.
Okay. Well, this was one of the, I always say this okay, I have to say something. Every all hands meeting, every meeting with all of you increases my mental health exponentially. So I just want to know you all inspire me. I always leave so happy. And the most important thing we do at the CoLab is really build up team confidence and their ability to get skills to be leaders. And that ultimately is the most important thing we do in my personal mind. We also do huge amount of change making, but we're really cultivating all of you as individuals. So thank you for being here. Thank you for our leaders on the documentary. Thank you for all of you for everything you do, for participating in our hubs. And I'm going to stop recording. And then if any of you want to